The Fair Work Commission has backed businesses' rights to get employees back to the office, saying working from home is not a God-given right. Joining us now is futurist Ben Hamer. Ben, thank you for joining us. Firstly, can you talk us through the case and the ruling?
Yeah, sure, Mike. So the ruling is about a worker who submitted a request to work from home 100% of the time due to a health condition, and that was knocked back by their employer. So the worker took them to Fair Work, but the Commission found that because of the requirements of the role, the individual actually needed to be in the office around 2 days a week, and so it was considered to be a fair and reasonable request that the company actually turned it down.
Yeah, one of the things I found interesting about the ruling is the employer said that the productivity of this employee was 50% while he was working from home, and they wanted it to be 85%.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's a case-by-case basis. And for that individual and their role, there was deemed that they needed to have some level of face-to-face contact in order to be productive and in order to do their role properly. But that's not going to be the same for everyone as well.
Yeah, so what does this case mean for the working from home trend more broadly?
Yeah, look, it definitely doesn't mean that we're at the end of working from home or that working from home is dead. But what it does highlight is that workers aren't entitled to full-time remote work, and that organisations are within their rights to actually negotiate what flexibility looks like on what's called reasonable business grounds. So by no means do I think that we're all going to be rushing back into the office 5 days a week. But what it is saying is that this idea of fully remote work is really the exception rather than the norm.
Just back on productivity, what does your research show? Can you work efficiently and meet targets while away from the office? I guess it depends on the role, but can it be done in a general sense?
Yeah, you're right in the sense that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, but what the research does show is that hybrid working, which is working between home and the office, is best for productivity. So you can do more collaborative work and work that requires social interaction and connection done best in the office, whereas things like getting through your emails, admin and deep thinking is best done at home. So when you can get the best of both worlds, that's where you see productivity actually take a positive bump. But personally, I believe that coming into the office for coming into the office for some or part of the week is actually beneficial. It's based on this idea that we come together in person so that we can work better apart. But I disagree with the CEOs who stick their head in the sand and just want to go back to the way things were without acknowledging that the game has actually changed.
Ben, a new report by accounting giant KPMG reveals 3/4 of bosses will reward workers who return with more pay, promotions and better projects. That seems a little bit about face. What do you make of the idea?
Yeah, look, it's an anonymous survey, and so it's interesting that they actually came out and said that. It's actually unlawful to show that kind of bias. And what's particularly concerning for me is that we know that more females rather than males are working from home. And so all we'd be doing by doing that is perpetuating the gender pay gap and sort of that unbiased or biased discrimination towards females in the workplace. The other thing, though, is that it's important to remember these one-off incentives or rewards don't work. They're quick wins. We really need to think about what the problem is that we're trying to solve and try and approach these new problems with new ways of thinking, as I said, rather than going back to the way things used to be.
Yeah, it's a fascinating debate. Ben Hamer, great to see you. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.